Good afternoon. I'm Edward Nelson Fell. My wife Ann and I purchased 118,000 acres or 180 square miles in the northern part of St. Lucie County, now part of Indian River County, Florida in March 1910 and started developing the town of Fellsmere in 1911. First, the Fellsmere Railroad was built and completed in September 1910. Then the railroad facilities were built, and when many of them were completed, a hotel or an inn was needed to provide a place for people to stay when coming to Fellsmere. So the Fellsmere Farms Company built the Fellsmere Inn during the early months of 1911. By March 26, 1911, the Fellsmere Inn was receiving guests. The inn had 22 guest rooms, a dining hall, wraparound porches on the first and second floors when it was first built. It was built at a cost estimated to between $25,000 to $30,000, a lot of money for those days over a century ago. The inn was built close to the sidewalk on the east side of North Broadway and just north of New York Avenue. The inn was filled to capacity every day. In 1912, a water main was laid from well number 1 near Myrtle Street and was run down New York Avenue to the inn. In July 1913, Theodore V. Moore, a Miami businessman known as the Pineapple King, bought the Fellsmere Inn. He leased the inn to several managers over the subsequent decade. Moore made extensive renovations to the Fellsmere Inn after purchasing it. In 1915, Moore hired Frederick Trimble, resident architect of Fellsmere at the time, to redesign the inn and give it a complete makeover. First, the building was moved so that its south side, that originally fronted New York Avenue, faced Broadway. The building was thoroughly overhauled and given a stucco finish and a flat roof. The first floor was divided into 4 business rooms, and the second floor remained as it was for lodging, but one of the rooms was transformed to a bathroom with a bathtub and a shower. The Fellsmere Inn was based upon the European hotel style, where there was only 1 bathroom per floor, not per individual room. The inn had an entirely different appearance than when it was built, and the name was changed to the Broadway Hotel. In June 1915, Theodore Moore's brother, Dr. E.T. Moore, opened a public swimming pool on the east grounds of the Broadway Hotel. The 30-foot by 60-foot pool ranged from 2 feet to 6 feet deep. It had dressing rooms, the entire complex, and was enclosed by a high fence. Architect Frederick Trimble moved from Fellsmere to Orlando in 1916. Then in May 1917, William Newland started working on plans for a complete remodeling of the Broadway Hotel to change its unattractive appearance to something more commensurate to the beautiful thoroughfare on which it fronted. In 1919, the Broadway Hotel was completely renovated and looked very similar to the original Fellsmere Inn. A new kitchen was built on the west side of the building, and there was a new large dining room on the north side. 12 rooms were refurbished upstairs. The lots north of the hotel were cleared, and Bermuda grass, tropical shrubs, trees, and flowers were planted to beautify the grounds. Sunday dinners proved to be special, for they attracted many people to dine at the hotel. Despite the complete makeover and the Sunday dinner attraction, the Broadway Inn went to foreclosure in 1920, and the Fellsmere Company took possession of the inn. From June 26 to August 14, the company advertised the hotel for sale or lease. Then on August 28, 1920, an ad appeared stating, quote, "The Broadway Inn open for guests, reasonable rates, courtesy and service assured, Mrs. J.H. Sutherland, proprietor." Mrs. Sutherland found that it was difficult to run a hotel and sold it to Mr. and Mrs. M.A. Carrier in February 1920. Then in February 1924, the hotel was remodeled once more and its name was changed back to the Fellsmere Inn. In addition, on the south side, double the size of the old building, and a large veranda was built on the west and south sides of the building. The entire building was moved back approximately 30 feet from its original location. By May 1st, 1924, the new Fellsmere Inn was completed and open for guests. In 1931, the Fellsmere Inn went to foreclosure during the Great Depression. However, it was soon back in business after the Fellsmere Sugar Company built a sugar mill in 1932. The company saved Fellsmere from economic ruin, and the boom created by the mill attracted job seekers to Fellsmere when the national employment rate was around 25%. The Fellsmere Inn became a hustling, bustling place, especially for workers who came to work for the Fellsmere Sugar Company. The inn had a bar and held square dances. The inn, as always, had many managers over the years and remained quite an attraction for Sunday dinners. Many of the proprietors advertised home-cooked meals. In 1968, more than 300 people from Brevard, Indian River, and St. Lucie counties jammed the Fellsmere Inn for its Thanksgiving Day feast. From 1968 to 1972, the Fellsmere Inn changed ownership 5 times. Then, Golda and Herbert Velli bought the Fellsmere Inn in September 1972 and moved their 4 children and antique shop from Vero Beach into the inn. They did not rent out the bedrooms upstairs, but encouraged ministers to stay there when they came to Fellsmere. Once Herbert became a minister himself and had to leave for his first pastorship in Fort Pierce, the Villies sold the inn to Alfred and Margaret Freeman in July 1980. When Margaret and Alfred bought the Fellsmere Inn, it was gutted. There were 38 broken windows, no landscaping, and no railings on the outside. After making repairs, the Freemans moved in and opened up an antique store in the Fellsmere Inn and named it the Fellsmere Country Corners Antique Store. Alfred died in 1992, but Margaret continued to live in the inn until 2007. Like the Villies, the Freemans also never rented rooms to anyone. Freemans had a flea market outside every weekend on both Saturdays and Sundays. They even installed a porch swing that people came to the inn just to sit on. Hurricanes Francis and Jean in September 2004 and Hurricane Wilma in October 2005 blew the roof off and blew out the windows on the east side. Since Margaret was 81 years old and by herself, she made the decision to sell the building to Fred and Terry Vanderveer in November 2005. One of the first things that Fred Vanderveer did was to repair the roof. Next, he had 6 layers of wet and moldy carpet removed from the upstairs. Holes had to be drilled through the upstairs floor to allow water to drain out. After the inn was dried out, 230 gallons of high-quality paint were used to paint the entire inn. The kitchen in the rear of the building was renovated and transformed to a huge, fully equipped, modernized commercial kitchen. The bedrooms and bathrooms upstairs were all renovated and restored, and a laundry room was added. Several of the bedrooms converted into 2 elegant suites. The staircase to the second floor was carpeted and all the pine floors were polished. The bar downstairs in the front now gleams. A Baldwin grand piano graces the entranceway to the dining room located in the southeast corner of the building. The Vanderveers restored the grounds on the south side of the property and installed a white wooden fence around the perimeter. The inn was repainted in early 2024 at a cost of approximately $200,000. The Fellsmere Inn now serves as a large, comfortable, historic private residence for the Vanderveers. Not only have they restored the inn, but they have turned the old Fellsmere Inn into a showcase reminiscent of when Fellsmere was in its heyday during its initial development from 1911 to 1915. However, being a private residence, it is not open to the general public. It can only be admired from the outside, but it is still the centerpiece of Fellsmere, worthy to look at when in town. If you would like to know more about the history of the Fellsmere Inn and the Broadway Hotel, plus personal stories of some of the people who own and stayed at the inn, you can use your smartphone to read the QR code to access the City of Fellsmere website, or use the city's website address as shown on the walking tour brochure.